Here's a question I want you to sit with for a moment. How many times in the last month have you heard someone in your organization say, "We just can't find good people"? How many times has a project been delayed, a bid been pulled back, or a deadline been quietly pushed because there simply weren't enough qualified hands to get the work done? Now, here's a follow up question, and this one matters more. What has your organization actually done about it? Beyond posting jobs, attending career fairs, and hoping the pipeline fills itself. The construction industry has been talking about the labor shortage for at least 2 decades. We know the numbers, we've seen the slides, we've all sat through the conference presentations. And yet, here we are in 2026, with the Associated Builders and Contractors projecting that the U.S. construction industry alone needs to attract 430,000 net new workers this year just to meet demand, not to grow, to meet current demand. Across North America, roughly 1 in 5 construction workers is over the age of 55. Industry projections suggest over half of the current workforce will retire within the next decade. We have been aware of this problem for a very long time, and yet, as an industry, we keep treating it as a math problem. Not enough people coming in, too many going out. Close the gap and move on. Today, I want to make the case that we have been solving for the wrong problem. The labor shortage is not fundamentally a recruiting problem. It is a retention problem. It is a knowledge transfer problem. And until we treat it that way, until the leaders at the top of the industry treat it this way, all the career fairs and apprenticeship programs in the world are not going to get us where we need to go. In this video, we are going to cover 4 key elements of the talent shortage, why they're important, and why you should know about them. I'm Angelo Suntres. This is the human side of construction. Let's get into it. First off, the numbers don't tell the whole truth. The headline data is real. The industry will need hundreds of thousands of workers across North America over the next several years. In Canada, BuildForce projects a net shortfall of tens of thousands, even accounting for new entrants. In the US, ABC puts the 2026 need at 439,000, down from over 500,000 in prior years, but still a structural gap. The problem with the numbers is the assumption underneath. The assumption that a new entrant is a like-for-like replacement for a retiree. The math balances, but the reality does not. A 25-year-old electrical apprentice and a retiring 30-year superintendent are both counted as one person leaving and one person coming in, but they are not equivalent in any way that matters to the work getting done safely, efficiently, and profitably. This is not a criticism of new workers. It is an acknowledgement of what experience actually is. Competency is not about intelligence or potential. It is about accumulated judgment, recognizing hazards before they become incidents, reading a job site before a problem surfaces, knowing which calls to make under pressure because you've made them before. That kind of competency cannot be downloaded. It takes years of guided field experience to build, and right now the industry is losing the people best positioned to provide that guidance faster than we can develop the people who need it. The numbers frame the scale of the problem, but the real cost is what the numbers don't capture. And that brings us to where the money actually goes. Let's look at the real cost of turnover. Most construction leaders think about the labor shortage as a supply problem, not enough workers. What they underestimate is the cost of the workers that they already have who leave. Gallup puts the cost of replacing a salaried employee at 1.5 to 2 times their annual salary. For a site supervisor or project manager earning $90,000, you're looking at a replacement cost of $135,000 to $180,000. Before you account for the project disruption, the schedule hit, and the institutional knowledge walking out the door. And it's not just senior roles. The RAND Corporation published findings in 2024 showing that 40% of construction apprentices in the US do not complete their apprenticeship programs. We're investing training time, mentor hours, and site supervision in workers who are walking away before they ever become fully productive. And the industry barely talks about it. In British Columbia, Statistics Canada data shows 30% of contractors cite retention as one of their top challenges. The picture is similar across regions. Here's the distinction worth making. Attraction is nice, but retention is what actually moves the needle. Every worker you keep is worth more than 2 you have to recruit, onboard, and train from scratch, because the one you kept already has the context, the relationships, and the site-specific knowledge that cannot be transferred in an orientation. Ask your leadership team this question. What percentage of your workforce development investment goes toward keeping the people you have versus finding new ones to replace those who leave? So if the problem is retention, what is actually driving people out? That's where this gets uncomfortable, because the answer lives in how we lead. So why do people actually leave? Spoiler alert, it's not always about the money. The American Institute for Research identified the top reasons apprentices do not complete their programs: workplace environment and culture, inadequate support systems, financial stress, and personal challenges with limited access to help. Notice what's not at the top of the list: wages. Pay matters, of course, and the industry needs to be more competitive in that regard. But in sector after sector, research consistently shows that people leave managers, not companies. They leave environments where they don't feel supported, where they are not developed, where the culture makes it easier to walk away than to stay. Construction has a well-earned reputation for being a hard environment: long hours, physical demands, a culture that historically rewarded toughness and penalized anything that looked like struggle. That culture built some incredible things. It also drove out, and continues to drive out, talented people who didn't feel they belonged or couldn't find enough of a reason to stay. This is particularly acute for younger workers who bring different expectations to a career than previous generations did. They're not less committed. They are differently committed. They want to know their growth is a priority. They want a pathway, not just a paycheck, and they want to see how they fit into the bigger picture. The leaders who figure out how to build environments where diverse people, diverse in generations, background, and experience, want to show up and stay are going to have a significant structural advantage over the next decade. This is not a soft observation. It's a competitive reality. Understanding why people leave gives us the foundation for the harder conversation. What does it actually take to build an environment worth staying in? This brings us to our next point. Retention is a leadership problem, which means it's also a leadership opportunity. The construction industry has invested heavily in safety systems, project management platforms, and estimating technology. It has invested almost nothing relative to the need in developing leaders who know how to retain the people those systems depend on. Retention does not come from a benefits package alone, although benefits do matter. It comes from leaders who have the skills and the inclination to build the kind of culture where people feel that they are growing, not just being used. That means mentorship, real mentorship, not informal shadowing, not unstructured conversations, structured, intentional knowledge transfer programs that treat the experience of your senior people as an organizational asset before it retires out the door. It means clear development pathways, showing entry-level workers what progression looks like, what milestones matter, what the industry can actually offer someone who commits to it for 20 years. And it means creating psychological safety, an environment where problems get surfaced early, where a second-year apprentice can tell a foreman they don't understand something without it being treated as a weakness. That's how you prevent incidents. It's also how you retain talent. The irony of the labor shortage is this: the organizations that will weather it best are not the ones who can hire the fastest. They are the ones who have built environments that don't require constant replacement. Retention is not a human resources function. It is a leadership function, and it starts with whoever is at the top of your organization deciding it is worth the investment. The most expensive thing you can do in this labor market is to build a culture where people want to leave. Which brings us to where I want to leave you today, because acknowledging the problem is only worth something if it changes what you do next. So here's where we're going to land today. The labor shortage is real, the numbers are real, the retirements are real. I'm not suggesting any of that is overstated. What I am suggesting is that we have been spending enormous energy trying to fill a bucket that has a giant hole in the bottom, and that hole is retention. Every worker you lose to a poor culture, a bad manager, or an environment that felt indifferent to their development is a worker that the industry had and gave away. The single most actionable thing you can do as a leader right now, this week, is to look at the people you have and ask honestly, do they have a reason to stay? Not just a paycheck, a reason, a pathway, a sense that someone in this organization is paying attention to whether they grow. Because if the answer is no, or if you don't actually know the answer, that is the labor shortage problem worth solving. The industry will bring new people in. That work is happening. But you cannot recruit your way out of a retention problem. At some point, someone has to decide that the human experience inside this industry is worth investing in. I believe you're here because you've already decided that. So let's act like it. I'm Angelo Suntries. This is the human side of construction. Let's get to work. There's a lot to do. If you're a leader in the construction industry and want to discuss how you are addressing workforce challenges in your organizations, or if you have a construction experience that you want to share with the world, we want to hear from you.
reach out to me at angelo@hsoc.one. That's ANGELO at hsoc.one to see how we can work together.